When I first started doing music at a professional level, I was definitely living in a constant state of uncertainty. Jury's out if that's ever ended. I was chasing placements, waiting on paychecks and royalties that always felt like they were never coming or delayed for whatever reason. At one point, I did sign a publishing deal that came with a 6-figure advance, but I did not get all that money at once, and eventually my publisher stopped paying me too. And that sent me into panic mode. Do I need to go back to working a regular job, leave LA, and just start over? But everything started to change for me for the better when I learned how to make money with my music online. Instead of waiting for royalties to come in or a label or publisher to pay me, I started getting paid within the hour. I could open PayPal, go buy my groceries, and pay my rent. And this one decision to start selling my music and vocals online directly to the consumer is what led to me ultimately making my first 100K. Independently. And this completely changed the way I approached my career. I was no longer dealing with gatekeepers or industry politics. It was just me doing what I love and getting paid for it. I'm Breanamarin, a singer-songwriter who's built a full-time music career, recording songs in my home studio, licensing hooks to thousands of indie artists via BeatStars, and selling my songwriting services directly to clients through Soundbetter and my website. In this video, I will walk you through all the lessons I've learned, steps I've taken to make my first 100K from songwriting without a label, a manager, a publishing deal, or the usual industry politics. You don't have to write songs for the biggest artists in the world to be a professional songwriter. One of the greatest lessons I've learned working in the music industry is that you can be a professional songwriter on your own terms. Like I've already mentioned, you don't need a manager, publisher, label, major artist, any of those things to start generating money. Can those things be helpful? 100%. But do you absolutely, undeniably need them to start making money with your music? Absolutely not. Now, once upon a time, I did also believe that myth. In my head, making it as a songwriter meant you either had to be famous or have written something for someone famous. And you've made it. You're rich. You're a millionaire. You can stop doing everything now. You've made it to the big leagues. And once upon a time, I also believed these myths. I thought fame equals financial stability. And that's just not true. You can be a working songwriter that no one's ever heard of, at least outside of your industry, because there's so many working songwriters who may not be famous, but are well respected in their industries and known for what they do. And some who just prefer anonymity. Anywho, my whole mindset shifted when I moved to LA and got connected and started working around real creatives who were in the music industry full time. I was meeting background singers, producers, touring musicians, teachers, people who work on jingles and commercials. There was a whole world of music and entertainment that I had never even fathomed. All that to say, all of these people were working and getting paid, and some very, 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 very well. This is when I started to realize the goal isn't fame or popularity or being known. It's working as a songwriter, getting paid for my songwriting, and being able to meet my basic needs as a living human being. And it's possible. You just have to figure out the right steps to take to get to that place. So what should you remember from this lesson? There's more than one way to reach financial stability in music. Figure out where you fit and persistently, aggressively keep making your way down that avenue until you have made your career look the way you want it to look. Lesson 2, my publishing deal did not make me rich, but it helped me become more self-sufficient and set up my work-from-home style songwriting career. My first real, substantial, big check in the music industry did not come from me working online. It was initially from my publishing deal. I had a co-publishing deal that came with a 6-figure advance. I knew I wasn't going to turn it down. I was ready to quit my jobs plural. And I just wanted to work full-time in music. So I said 100% yes. They give you almost like a payment plan where they'll pay you in installments, until the next milestone of your deal allows you to get to X amount of money. So it was still chunks of money that were much more than I had been making at my retail job and random marketing brand ambassador jobs I was taking in LA. So I thought I was set for life and I was a wealthy mamacita and that I would never have to have any financial money troubles again. I was also thrilled to know that I could make this kind of money from music that I recorded and wrote. I was very responsible. I was paying myself a certain amount per month so that I wouldn't, just bleed through all the money. I had met so many songwriters who got big advances and then were just like bleeding through all their money and were broke. And I was like, not me, honey. I'm going to be so smart. In addition to my advance, I had a travel budget. So if I had to go to a writing camp that was out of the country, which I did, they would buy my plane tickets and take care of all those kinds of things. So of course, when I found out I had an equipment budget, I asked an engineer that I knew at the time to pick the best setup for me because he was recording me all the time. He knew my voice and he knew all the things. So he was like, you should have this mic, you should have this interface, and this is all you need and you'll be good. And he hooked me up with a template and sent me on my way. And, from there, I had all the makings to do well with an online career, but I was still very much invested in my publishing deal and working in the music industry. Jumping back into the money of it all, advances and whatnot, about a year or so into my publishing deal, my scheduled payments were no longer arriving when they were supposed to arrive, and it was becoming a struggle bus. I was watching my money dwindle and trying to figure out what I was going to do. I might have to go back to, working because your publishing deal and your income really depend on you getting more placements with major artists and major projects so that your royalties, first of all, can recoup your advance, pay all that money back. But the thing about placements is you're dependent on people. So if an artist you're working with decides to cancel their tour and cancel their releases because they decide they want to be pregnant and focus on their family, then that avenue of money you thought you were going to have isn't going to work. Or if you recorded a whole bunch of music with an artist and you are like, oh, cool, I ended up with most of the songs on their album, and they suddenly decide, or their A&R suddenly decides, or their manager decides they're going in a different direction artistically and they scrap all your music, then you're back to the drawing board. So long story short, the deal didn't end well. But there was still a silver lining in all of this. I had my upgraded equipment that I could use to my advantage, and that's exactly what I did. Around the time I was on my last legs with money and I didn't know I had received my last check from the publishing deal, I learned about Soundbetter. I went on the website and at first I was very unamused, and then I saw a friend of mine make some money instantly. He was negotiating with someone and charged him $800, and then bam, I heard his PayPal alert go off on his phone and he had $800. 5 minutes ago, he didn't have the $800. And I was like, you have to be kidding me. I'm convinced, I'm sold, I'm in. So I immediately went in on my Soundbetter profile. I put my best photos. I gathered all my best songs and made a reel out of it on Pro Tools or Logic, one of the others. I wrote a cool bio about myself, and then I thought about what services I was willing to offer. Background vocals, writing hooks, singing demo songs, songs that they've written and they just need vocals on, writing full songs, helping someone finish their lyrics. I was trying to think of every single thing I could help you do. And I just laid that out. Fast forward maybe 30 or 60 days, I had made a few $1,000s just on Soundbetter. And at first I was like, okay, this could just be a fluke. Maybe it would end. But it just carried on. And to the point I would say maybe the most I was making in a month was between $6,000 and $7,000 on a really, really good month, but maybe $5,000 on a slower month, $5,000. And I was able to hire an attorney to, close out my publishing deal. I moved. It was a whole bunch of things I was able to do. I was reinvesting the money that I was making from Soundbetter back into myself and my equipment so that I can deliver better, higher quality vocals and files to the clients that I was working with. I'm telling you all this to say that I worked so hard to create a catalog, network with all these people. I took all these meetings to get a publishing deal. I finally got it. got the advance, and it was not all it was cracked up to be. Some people, publishing deals and record label deals end up being a fairy tale for them. So don't let this deter you from something you may be considering. For me, it just didn't pan out that way. What it did help me do is realize that wasn't the path for me. It also set me up on the trajectory to start recording music at home. Because like I said, I was going to studios, I was going to other people's houses and recording on their setups that were better. If you want to earn money with your music, having your own setup is a great place to start. If you don't have a big advance and an equipment budget, that's okay. Start where you are, use what you have until you're able to invest in yourself and, start slowly building up the things. Lesson 3, start treating yourself like a business. Once I started to get clients more consistently on Soundbetter, I quickly realized just being talented and skilled is not enough. You also have to have smarts and business sense. I had to start thinking about how I could protect myself and create systems and policies with structure and boundaries, because people will take advantage of you if you let them. And I did, and I learned. So don't do that. Side note, I realize I've been talking about Soundbetter and you may not know what it is. If you're unfamiliar with it, Soundbetter is a place that people, artists, producers, executives, whomever, can create an account and start hiring creatives for their projects. And the creatives can be audio engineers. I believe that's what they started with. Then they expanded to, songwriters, singers, producers, but it's mostly pertaining to music, and the outcome being the client's project will sound better. And I was really grateful for this service. When I first started out on Soundbetter, I was just excited to be making money with something I created, my music, my voice, my talent. I had never really considered what I should be charging or what the services I'm offering could be worth. I hadn't really thought about it or done any math or science to calculate what the price should be. I had just landed on around like $200 for pretty much everything. You want vocals? $200. You need a hook written? $250. You need a full song? Maybe $300. But for the most part, I didn't have a rhyme or reason. I would also just go off how many times I was told no. Then I would maybe lower the price or make the price higher if too many people said yes. When I first started, I used to let the clients pay 50% up front and then 50% on the back end. Because on Soundbetter, when you do that, you get the 50% right away, which I loved, having instant income. But I quickly realized I needed to start protecting myself when I would do this 50 upfront, 50 on the back end, and people would run away when the back end time came around. So instead of me getting $200, I would get $100 for a project that I was expecting $200 on. And it happened far too many times. And it made me realize, okay, I need to have better policies. And maybe one of my policies is I don't take 50% up front and 50% on the back. You need to either pay all the way up front or I'm probably not going to do it. But I didn't realize that until I had wasted my time on some stupid projects. The same things would start to happen with revisions. Maybe somebody wanted endless revisions. I think there was a project that I worked on and somebody just kept coming back every week with something new to fix. And it made me realize, I should have a policy where there's a limitation on how many times you can have a revision. Because if you don't have that, someone's going to take advantage of your time and keep asking you for revisions because you never told them that they had to stop or, they would be charged. And I would find once I added in my policy, which I don't remember what it is now, but let's say it was you get 2 free revisions and then after that you have to start paying for my time. I would get significantly less requests for revisions and just clearer instructions on the front end. And also it would just scare away the people who were more difficult. So as time went on and more projects were completed, it just became clear to me that I am running a business. I need policies, contracts, and boundaries. It was also more helpful when I would open new projects with people to have a roadmap of expectations. Then they knew how everything was going to go and I didn't have any problems because I could just be like, this is how this is going to go. I'm going to send you this. I'm going to ask for that. You give me this and then I'll give you that. You know what I mean? So it was just really simple. It left no room for confusion or miscommunication. It took some time and a lot of thinking, but eventually I came up with refund policies, a realistic turnaround time. How long is it going to actually take me to deliver this to you? Because sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I don't feel like doing it and I'm not ready to give it to you in 2 days. And some people might be expecting a 48-hour turnaround and it's I don't think I'm the person for you. It's going to take me a week or 2 weeks because I have other projects and I need time to be a person. And I had policies, as I mentioned before, on how you can pay me, which was no 50-50 without it being over a certain threshold. Meaning if you're paying for a $3,000 project, sure, you can have 50 upfront and 50 on the back end. But if it's a $200 project, you need to pay the whole thing up front. And I really didn't get a lot of pushback on these policies. Anyone who didn't like it just didn't hire me, and I didn't care, in the nicest way possible, mind you. So what I'd like you to remember from this lesson is that if you want consistent income in music, you need to stop showing up like a creative and start showing up like a business. Take yourself seriously and start creating policies, processes, and pricing around the services you could offer. Lesson 4. It's nice to get paid per project, but it's even better to get paid for the same song over and over and over again. Soundbetter grew to become my core income. I got to a place where pretty much every month I knew how many clients I was going to get and roughly how much I was going to make, which gave me a solid, predictable monthly income, which is what I love and what I was always striving for. There was also another perk to not only having a Soundbetter profile, but a website that enabled you to just stumble upon me as an artist. So not only did I have a Soundbetter profile, I also had a personal website. Both created new opportunities for people to kind of quietly find me. The better I started to perform on the Soundbetter platform, the more 5-star reviews, the more consistent projects I was getting, started to become more visibility on the website itself. Because everyone who visits the website may not actually message you, they may go find you somewhere else and talk to you there. So eventually, Google searches, messages on my social media, and inquiries on my personal website started to increase. And I do believe a lot of it was because of how active I was on Soundbetter. In addition to visibility on the platform, sometimes the caliber of client I was working with on Soundbetter was pretty awesome. I would often get inquiries from DJs who had underground followings, producers who were already working with music libraries and were getting placements on television. I've heard several of my Soundbetter placements on shows that I watch, like Selling Sunset and Insecure, which is crazy. All these projects I was working on and the visibility I was getting from the website and my Google searches started to compound and create even better opportunities for me. And eventually I was connected with the founder of BeatStars, who ultimately introduced me to the idea of licensing hooks on the BeatStars platform. And for those of you who don't know, BeatStars is a platform that allows producers to make beats and license them to independent artists. When an artist buys a license to a beat, they don't technically own the beat, they just get to use the beat. And the producer gets to create policies and boundaries around the usage of their beats, if that makes sense. If they don't want you to exceed a certain amount of streams, you can't exceed a certain amount of streams. If they don't want you to put it on the radio, you can't put it on the radio. Or you have to buy the correct license that allows you to have unlimited streams, have radio play and music videos and all of those things. However the producer wants to set it up, that's how they can set it up. So I started to partner with the producers on BeatStars, writing hooks to their beats and selling the beat with the hook to the indie artists. So it ended up being really popular with underground rap artists who maybe didn't want to write a hook or had verses and stuff already to a certain beat and just needed a hook to drive it home. Those were the kind of people that were purchasing my hooks. I was definitely skeptical and hesitant about starting this beat with hook licensing journey, but I figured I had nothing to lose. I would give it 6 months and see if anything happens. I was given a folder of beats. I recorded hooks to probably almost all of them. So once I was done recording the hooks, I scheduled and uploaded them to my page, and the producers were uploading them to their page as well. I don't remember the exact year I started, but let's say I started in a July of that year, years ago. I was seeing like $100 here, $200 there, and it was worth enough for me to keep going because I figured maybe that's because only 5 hooks are available, and that's why I'm only making like $100 or $200. But it's $100 or $200 I didn't have before, and it's paying me for work I did one time. I don't have to keep recording over and over. It's not per project, it's per license. So eventually, maybe by October, November, I was in like the $1,000 to $2,000 range, and I'm talking per month, selling these licenses. I don't know how many exact licenses added up to the 1,000 or 2,000 because the way we were doing it, there's about 4 options you could choose from. There was like a basic license for around $20 to $30, and then the highest tier being like $200 to maybe $300 for an unlimited limited license. Then maybe fast forward to January, February, I had definitely gotten to about maybe $3,000 to $5,000. And over the years, when I started adding more and more hooks and being more consistent with the releases and also posting on YouTube and also running ads, I was running ads and maybe some of the producers I was working with were running ads on top of that. I did reach a pinnacle of maybe 10 to 15K per month licensing hooks on BeatStars. And, it would fluctuate, give or take, depending on the way the sales hit. Sometimes around Christmas, it would do even a little better than that. And that was just me. I know the producers make probably far more than what I was making. It seemed like the more hooks I created, the more the sales were compounding on top of each other, because maybe it took one hook a little bit longer to take off and now it's selling. And then you released a new hook that was doing well. So all the sales were accumulating and I was still doing Soundbetter in the background. So I had my Soundbetter income and my BeatStars income, which ultimately led me to generating 100K recording vocals, hooks, songwriting projects in my living room at the time. Now that you've seen the path that has led me to my first 100K, from publishing deals to Soundbetter to licensing hooks on BeatStars, I hope you realize that there's more than one way to make an income doing what you love. If you're interested in selling your songwriting or musical services on Soundbetter, make sure you check out my course called Soundbetter Success. I'll drop the link in the description box. It's got everything in there, from the templates I use to pitch for jobs or in different scenarios with clients. It will help you get set up with all the things you need to do to start making money on your Soundbetter profile and even your own personal website. So remember, you don't need to have placements with major artists to become a working songwriter. You just need to invest in your setup, make yourself discoverable online, because every step is going to bring you closer to becoming a self-made songwriter.